The beta is now over for Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and I've seen a ton of people making videos on their final review of the beta. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to answer a question for you. Should you buy Call of Duty Black Ops 6? Now, the reason why I say this is we've seen the campaign. We kind of know what that has to offer. On top of this, we have all played the multiplayer within the beta, and personally, I have played zombies and I have played the new iteration of Warzone. So knowing all of these things, I am actually going to answer the question for you whether or not you should buy the game. And it's going to be different from person to person. And you'll see what I mean as we move through each of these modes. And we're going to talk about each of them, kind of giving you what we know and what you can expect as a player for each individual mode. So let's start out with my personal favorite, the story, aka campaign. So far for campaign, we have seen one mission for Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and just like previous Black Ops games, it's rooted in reality. For example, we see in Black Ops 6, George Bush Sr. is the president, and the mission that we are on here, this is a Bill Clinton gala for him running as president against him. Other things going on in the world at the time, we of course have the Gulf War raging on, and we have figures like Saddam Hussein being one of the main bad guys kind of in the background. We don't know whether we're going to fight him or what is going to happen with that moving forward. But on top of this, it is a Black Ops game, and with this they have the mind-bending aspects, let's say MK Ultra. I don't know how that one's going to fit in. And specifically, our main characters like Frank Woods and Russell Adler have gone rogue and are being hunted by the CIA. All the while, they are hunting down a mysterious group known as Pantheon. Okay, you know the story, you know what's going on. Totally. And just to be clear, I do believe that the story of this game will be great. Treyarch does a great job of writing stories. But that's not all you need to know, because Treyarch wasn't the only cook with their hand in the kitchen on this campaign. Raven was also working on this one as well. And with this, the only other campaign that we can really compare it to at this point is Black Ops Cold War. And here's the thing. I'm actually a little bit worried about this one because, as you guys know, I made a video about it earlier. There is no campaign early access for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And I think with that, the campaign as a whole is going to get left behind for a lot of players. A lot of players are going to just want to jump straight into zombies or straight into multiplayer. And campaign will kind of be left behind to either a later date or to never be played at all. And that is unfortunate because I do think that this campaign will be good. But you also have to ask yourself a question. If they've been doing campaign early access, why not this year? And I think it comes down to two things. Number one, with Modern Warfare 3, last year's campaign really sucked. And with that, it was too short and not a good story. And because of that, I think less people ended up buying the game because of the campaign early access. And they don't want to have that again. But if they had more confidence in their campaign, they would probably be releasing it early because that would cause more people to actually buy it. So I don't think that this campaign is going to be bad, but I'm a little worried it is actually going to be short. And if we compare this to Black Ops Cold War, 4.5 hours would be about your average playthrough of that game. And I wouldn't be surprised if we were expected to see that amount of time again. Now, this is not confirmed whatsoever, and I do believe that the campaign will be good and have a great story. The length, I just think, might not be there. But again, that will not be confirmed until the game actually launches. What I can confirm is this is a sequel to the best Call of Duty story franchise of all time, and that is the Black Ops series. As far as the Black Ops series goes, we have characters like Russell Adler, Frank Woods, Alex Mason, who we know has been killed. This is the continuation of that story, and I can only imagine that that would be amazing. But I think an easy question to answer for yourself as to whether or not you are going to like this campaign is simple. Did you like the Black Ops Cold War campaign? Because I think the closest thing to compare it to will be that one. So that's your answer for campaign. Now moving into multiplayer. So what's crazy to me is that from what I have seen, Black Ops 6, it might be the most divisive Call of Duty that I have ever seen, period. I see both sides of things. Some people absolutely loved the beta and some people despised it. And I think there are some pretty big reasons for that we can get to throughout this, and I can kind of explain them to you. But as far as my opinion goes, the beta for Black Ops 6, in my eyes, was a huge W. By far, it was the most fun and most enjoyment I got out of a Call of Duty beta ever. Now, I'm going to show you the list of what I think my big W's were for the beta. Number one was the movement. Now, I will say it took a while for me to get used to. So if you only played for like an hour, I don't think you were used to the movement. It probably took me about 6 hours of playtime, plus adjusting a bunch of in-game settings, which we've talked about a ton on the channel, for me to actually get used to this movement. But by the end of the beta, it was my favorite part of the game. And trying to go back today and play Modern Warfare 3 quite literally was painful for me because I didn't have this movement anymore. Now, some people are not going to like this. And when it comes to this, Call of Duty constantly changes and evolves, and we've seen different types of movement before with Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and now in Black Ops 6, a brand new type of movement. Now, it appears as though this is going to be the movement system moving forward, and I'll have another video about this in days to come. But if you don't like this, if you don't like the movement, it is a core part of the game. I do not think you are going to like the game as a whole, but personally, I loved it. It was my favorite thing. Another thing is the weapons. Weapon variety to me felt great. That is after they nerfed the Jackal. Before they nerfed the Jackal, everyone was just using the Jackal. But after that, there was a wide variety of weapons. You had the DM-10, which was a single fire, really high damage weapon. You had the SWAT, your burst fire weapon. You had a couple different variations of assault rifles, some that do high damage with more recoil, and some that do less damage with very low recoil. You had a wide variety of SMGs, some that were slow firing and some that were really fast firing, and others with great mobility. And each of these weapons I felt like I could use and excel with, to the point where one of my best games was actually with an LMG, which I never use. So the fact that I could use all of those weapons and excel with them meant to me that that was great weapon variety. Number 3 is the perk system. Now, I don't think the perk system is perfect, and I will get into that in a second. However, I did feel as though each perk that I used gave me a good amount of benefits or non-benefits, as well as I enjoy the wildcard system. Now, there are only 3 wildcards currently in the game, and I think that there should be more, but each of them gives you your own benefits. You can either use 2 primary weapons, or use an extra perk, or use 8 attachments, and the attachments in this game are very strong because none of them have downsides. So you have to decide between an extra perk or more attachments and make your weapon better. It's an interesting dynamic. Now, the one problem I had with the perk system is I feel like the combat specialists, where if you used all one color perks it gave you a bonus, were a bit too much of a crutch. I felt like if I didn't have one of those set up in my class, I was operating at a huge disadvantage. And the only way I could see of getting out of this is if you also offered some perks that do some of the same things as the combat specialists. So for example, one of the blue combat specialist things it did is give you a HUD indicator when someone was looking at you. If we also had a perk that did that, you might not feel as disadvantaged for not using that combat specialist. Also, seeing pink people through walls was pretty powerful as well. And then the last thing that I liked, and I think is one of the reasons why people will not like this game, is it feels a little more arcadey. It feels more like a Black Ops game. Like, for example, we had Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 the past 2 years. Those feel maybe like a little bit of an arcade shooter, but if you go back to Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4 or even Black Ops Cold War, they just feel more arcadey than your other Call of Duty games that we actually get. And with having 2 games back to back that didn't feel that way, I think this one's going to be a little bit of a shock to a lot of people who maybe weren't ready for it. And don't worry, we will come back to that statement one more time. Now let's move into the L's of multiplayer. This is, in my eyes, where they took the L's on the beta. And the first one is, in my opinion, the biggest one. Connection, desync, stuttering, and performance issues. This is the same problem your girlfriend has with you. It's the performance. When it's time to step up to the plate, you just can't do so. Well, neither could Black Ops 6, but it is a beta. That is kind of the point of a beta. They need to improve these things for launch, and that's one of the reasons why they had this. They even told us on Twitter that they were working on these connections during that time. However, if the game comes out and these are not quite right, it is to the point where it is almost unplayable for some people. I had days of the beta where I could not even play the game. It was so laggy and problems with it and things along those lines. So hopefully the beta is what can iron that out. Similarly, spawns were another big L that a lot of people said the game took, and I somewhat agree with that. The first little while, the spawns were brutal, but it seemed as though as time went on, they improved the spawns. And maps like Babylon, they are very small maps, are always not going to have good spawns, but we need to give them time to get a little bit better, and I don't believe that they'll be as bad as they were on that second weekend of that beta. Also, maps. A lot of people were complaining about the maps, and it was surprising to me because up until this point, almost everyone likes playing small to medium maps. And if you look at what people said were the two worst maps in the beta, most people said Scud and Rewind, which were the two biggest maps in the beta. Yet everyone was saying that they wanted bigger maps. So I don't know, maybe they just weren't used to it, or maybe they were saying the maps were bad because really the thing that was bad was the spawns. I don't know, I didn't hate the maps, and I guess that's kind of where I fell on them. There wasn't really anything that stood out as amazing, so I don't know. Let me know what you think of the maps down below. And then we have skill-based matchmaking. I hate to say this one, it is just not going anywhere, and if that is a game breaker for you, do not buy the game. You just don't. It is not gonna go anywhere, and that sucks. It's awful. I hate that. And the only way around skill-based matchmaking isn't to buy another Xbox and 2-box, it is just to not play the game. And yes, it sucks. And then the final L that I have is once again going back to connection. It's packet burst. I was packet bursting like crazy. They need to iron all of these things out going into the final game, and I do believe that all of them except for skill-based matchmaking will be better moving forward. So, based off of the multiplayer and based off of the beta, should you buy the game? If you are a multiplayer player, what should you do? As a whole, I think this is a good addition and a good divergent from the current state of multiplayer that we have with Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer. But this is what I will say. This is arcadey. And to me, this actually feels more like Black Ops 4 than any other Call of Duty game. The longer time to kill, the extreme use of stims, just the way the game feels as a whole, I kind of put it as a Black Ops 4 meets Black Ops Cold War style game. And personally, to me, I love that combination. I liked both of those games. But if you didn't like Black Ops 4 and you didn't like Black Ops Cold War, I truly believe you are not going to enjoy Black Ops 6 as a multiplayer game. That is what I personally believe. Me, I think it's a great combination, and I think it's going to be my favorite multiplayer in probably like the last 5 years, just based off of what I played in the beta. But I can also see how that combination wouldn't be for everyone. Next up, speaking of something that's not for everyone, let's dive into zombies. So let me be clear when I say this, I am no zombies expert. I am coming from the section of the community with the perspective of someone who likes to play zombies, likes to grind for camo, does some Easter eggs here and there, and also knows the story pretty darn well. I also enjoyed Black Ops Cold War Zombies, and I know the entire community didn't, but I wanted to say that before I said anything else, because that last part is very important. First off, I have played Liberty Falls, or as some of you like to call it, Liberty Balls. And I will say this map is easy. It's rather bland as of right now, which does have the potential to change depending on how the Easter egg and mission changes the map. An example I can give this to you is the Pack-a-Punch. The Pack-a-Punch is like the easiest Pack-a-Punch machine I've ever seen. You just walk into the church and you can Pack-a-Punch your weapon. There is no power. There is no challenge to turn on the power. It is very, very easy. This, in my eyes, is what makes this zombies map made for very, very casual players. This is to bring people into zombies. It is the only thing that makes sense for this. And again, this could change upon the release of the actual Easter egg, this map. Now, I want to be clear when I say this. I think that this was done on purpose. Now, when I played the map, I didn't mind the map. There was nothing that I really disliked about it, but there was nothing that really wowed me either. There wasn't anything that did like the kind of wonder of what a zombies map normally does. Wonder and mystery is kind of, in my eyes, what zombies does best. Let's take, for example, a map that I know the community didn't really like when it came out, and I don't even think they like it now, but Voyage of Despair, the one that was kind of like designed after the Titanic. This map may have sucked, you may have hated it, but when you played that map, you're like, wow, this is a pretty good idea for a map. There is nothing like that in Liberty Falls. So again, I think it's made for a very casual audience. People who want to go in and just grind camos, play through a zombies map, and not go deep into an Easter egg and having to know where every little thing is on a map. And you can argue all you want that this was a marketing issue showing this at Call of Duty Next. I do strongly agree with that, but I will say this. If you really enjoyed Black Ops Cold War Zombies, you will still like this map. If you are into more traditional zombies, where maybe you started out with a pistol or that kind of area, I don't think this one's going to be for you, but that doesn't mean there is nothing in Black Ops 6 for you zombies-wise. That's where Terminus comes in. Now, this is the second of the zombies map, and this is the one that I haven't played. Immediately upon looking at this map, there is much more wonder, much more questions, much more mystery than we have with Liberty Balls. It is very clear that this is a bigger zombies map and a zombies map made for zombies people. But the one thing that I will say, and what is continuing in this game, is a lot of the systems from Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War will be returning. Things like armor, but there's also going to be new things like augments and new gameplay elements and new types of zombies. So no, this won't be the exact same zombies experience as you had in Black Ops Cold War, but I think everyone has to accept it and everyone has to acknowledge it. The closest zombies game to this game is 100% Black Ops Cold War. And if you didn't like the Black Ops Cold War zombies, I think it is going to still be a stretch for you to enjoy this zombies. But that can be changed very easily once we see the Easter eggs, how everything works, how the replayability of it, how all of the augments work, and everything in between. I think there is a lot of room here for this to be very, very good. And if you are a zombies fan, I think this year has a potential to be one of the best years ever. It's just, you are probably not going to be getting that classic zombies experience where you get hit twice and go down, or even where you start with a pistol. It is different, it is evolved, and it has changed, and it may not be for you, and you might have to accept that, but I do think that this map, specifically Terminus, is going to be for the wider variety of people, and people who put a lot more hours into zombies. Speaking of a lot more hours, let's dive into Call of Duty's most popular and free game mode, Warzone.
Wave goodbye to another nuke town, built with care, grown up with flair.
So why am I talking about Warzone when we are specifically talking about whether or not you should buy Black Ops 6? That's a little bit weird, is it not? Well, no, not really. Warzone, yes, is free to play, but if on day one, when the Black Ops 6 features are added into Warzone, you want to have all your weapons leveled up, you are probably going to need to buy Black Ops 6. And maybe you won't enjoy that, or maybe you will, but 100% the Black Ops 6 mechanics are going to affect Warzone. And when I went to Call of Duty Next, I got to play the new map, which was Area 99. Now, I had problems with this map, and we talked about it in a previous video. I don't think it was bright enough. I don't think it was vibrant enough. It just literally felt like you were in a desert. I think the idea of this map, of a Nuketown creation facility, is a genius idea, and it might play out really, really well. On top of that, it is a really small resurgence map. But on top of this, Verdansk is coming back and all of this, and what you need to know is all of the mechanics that we talked about in multiplayer are going to be in Warzone. And I strongly believe that the best weapons in Warzone are going to be the Black Ops 6 weapons, even though the Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 weapons are carrying over. And the reason for that is the attachments. All of the attachments in Black Ops 6 are much, much better than all of the attachments in the previous games. So which means you're going to need all of the attachments from Black Ops 6. So if you are a Warzone player and you want everything on day one, you're pretty much locked into buying Black Ops 6. I just wanted to put that out there so everyone's aware of it. And this brings me to the final thing, the summary. My final opinion. Should you buy Black Ops 6? Now, I think when people watch these type of videos, the thing that they are looking for is for one of two things. For people to be just like, yes, go buy it, or for someone to just dump all over the game, because for some reason, people like that kind of thing. And my answer isn't either of those. My answer is going to be very straightforward. First of all, my opinion. In my opinion, this was the best beta that we have ever had for a Call of Duty game. I think it's the most fluent a beta has felt, and yes, there were problems with it, there were connectivity issues, but look at the other betas that we've had and the ones we have to compare it to. This is the best one in my opinion. Also, the one I've had the most fun in. At the same time, I understand why some people don't like it. There is a bigger skill gap in this game. It is much more difficult than a Modern Warfare 2 or a Modern Warfare 3 to really excel at. And on top of that, it feels different than those games as well. So if you are really stuck in the hole of loving those Modern Warfare games, you are not going to like this. And I will go this far. As I said earlier, this game feels like Black Ops 4, and it feels like Black Ops Cold War. I feel as though it's a combination of those two, and they had a baby, and that is Black Ops 6. And if you didn't like those two games, I'm just going to say it straight up. you are not going to like these games. And that is okay. It's just not your year for Call of Duty. And yeah, that sucks for you, but I'm just being honest, you won't. But I think there's going to be a huge majority of new and returning players to the series that are really going to love this game. So if you're someone who hasn't played a Call of Duty in a very long time, or number two, someone who is brand new to Call of Duty and questioning whether or not you should buy it, I think this is a perfect game for you to hop into and try something new. With the new movement and Treyarch as a studio, I think this is a great time. And personally, so far, it has been the Call of Duty that I've enjoyed the most, just beta-wise, and from what I've played at Call of Duty Next. I can't wait to get into more with the campaign, and even further into zombies, and even further into multiplayer once everything is unlocked, and get into all the prestiges and everything like that. But for now, I am very, very positive about this game so far. And the only reason I would say is to not buy this game is, number one, if you really, really hate skill-based matchmaking and will not play the game because of it, because yeah, that is not changing. That is not going anywhere. And number two, if you're not someone who likes Black Ops games, if you didn't like Black Ops Cold War, didn't like Black Ops 4, then I would be questioning my decision to buy this game. But those are my thoughts so far. Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on, all of that kind of jazz. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, peace.
We are reaching for the stars.